Hey guys, Joe here of the Joe Madden Sports Podcast. I am joined today by powerhouse in the sports media industry, Joy Taylor, host of Speak on Fox Sports. Joy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Joe. It's fun to be here.
Oh, it is an absolute honor to have you here today. I cannot believe I'm actually sitting here with you. Like I told you before the show started, you are just absolutely incredible in this industry. You've forged such a path for women, especially in this industry. So thank you for taking your time today.
No, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so I want to talk about you as well as everything that you have going on. Firstly, congratulations on the new show, Speak on Fox Sports. How's things going with that?
The show's going great. I just finished doing the show, actually, and today was a really fun one. We got into a lot of heated debates. It's not a debate show by nature, but, you know, that's kind of how we communicate in sports is arguing different sides of things. And, you know, we are all very opinionated, and it is an opinion show. So we had quite a few interesting conversations today. But the show's going great. It's really fun, and it's a lot of energy. We kind of have a unique space because we're, you know, the last show of the day and generally the last show before any live event. So, you know, we kind of occupy a different space than, you know, a morning show or, you know, some of the shows earlier in the day do as far as the viewers go. So we can really try some different fun things and different topics and segments that are creative. And we've been having a great time.
Yeah, so that is weekdays at 4:30 Eastern. And you and your co-host really have a great connection. Did you know both of them before joining this show, Joy?
I actually did, yes. Manuel's been at the network, I think, 2 years now. And Shady is obviously a Pitt guy and a PA guy in Philly. So we have a lot of mutual friends. I didn't know Dave before coming to the show, but he's fit right in with all of us. And we have a great time. And, you know, we kind of tease each other a lot, and you know, that's fun as well. It's really it's like a locker room atmosphere. It's really fun.
Yeah, I looked at it as kind of like a family dynamic when you're sitting there. You know, you've got those brothers around the table and you're debating them. Talking about family, I know you come from a strong family, military connections. Brother is a Hall of Famer. How was growing up, Joy?
Well, I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and if you know anything about Pittsburgh, it is a huge sports city. Everyone is required to be a sports fan of some caliber and pay attention to what's going on with the local teams. It's a big high school sports area of the country as well, particularly high school football. So, I grew up at the Wolverina in Turtle Creek, which is the where the high school with the Woodland Hills Wolverines play, which is where I went to high school and played sports as well. And I played basketball and soccer and ran track and played volleyball growing up. So I was a jock, and I've just always loved sports, loved playing sports, loved arguing about sports. And obviously I've been watching football at every level for my entire life. So, Pittsburgh is a place, it's a very special place. It's a very unique place. And when people ask me, you know, how or what my experiences were with, you know, being a woman that talks about sports, yeah. I'm like, that's always been my life. Like my grandmother and two aunts lived together like the Golden Girls and would shut the whole house down whenever there was a game on. And if it didn't go well, everyone was cranky in the house for the rest of the week. Yeah. And, you know, they were very invested in sports. And so it was always very normal to me to have, you know, strong, opinionated women who watched sports and loved sports. So it was always something that was very normal to me.
So out of all of those women, who was your greatest role model and inspiration growing up, Joy?
Well, I love my mom. My mom is the best. She's a Cowboys fan, so I did not follow in her footsteps.
And you're not holding it against her, obviously.
As far as the fandom goes. Yeah. But I do always have a fun connection to the Cowboys through her. She always texts me after every game. And Emmitt Smith is her favorite player. So she loves the Cowboys. And my mom is a very strong woman and has been a great role model and is one of my best friends. So I feel very lucky to have a woman like her in my life. As far as, you know, as a sports fandom. My aunt Nan, who is no longer with us, was the biggest Steelers fan I have ever known, or probably will ever know. And she was just an absolute maniac and knew everything about the team and everything that was going on, and was completely and fully invested. And she is a big part of the reason why I always felt comfortable talking about sports, because she would do it with anyone and anyone, anywhere, anytime, and was very unapologetic about it. So I've had a lot of great role models in my life.
Now, was she like you in the way where she was very strong-minded and would speak her mind no matter what the debate was about?
Yeah, she was very sassy. I come from a very
That's a good way to put it, sassy.
long line of sassy women. So yes, she definitely was very unapologetic.
I love how you never bite your tongue when asked questions, especially on your shows, Joy, and on social media. You really do know how to put it in a nice way without coming across any other way but sassy. Now, your brother, he was defensive end, Jason Taylor. What was it like growing up with a brother that was so competitive in the sports world?
Well, he was drafted when I was 10 years old. So I watched him in college when he went to University of Akron. So he was drafted in the 3rd round. So he didn't come into the league as a highly touted player. He went in the 3rd round because he was undersized. So he really had to earn his way in the league. He was drafted by Jimmy Johnson, obviously notoriously, who also, introduced him at the Hall of Fame ceremony, however many years later, and eventually got into the Hall of Fame himself, which is well deserved. But he didn't have a very traditional path to the NFL. Yeah. Now everyone's games are on TV and everyone's broadcasted, and there's these camps. And, if you're a great player, there's a lot of ways to get discovered or, get out there. So he really had to earn it, and, didn't pop right away either. He had to put weight on and really develop in the league, and obviously went on to an incredible career. But I've been very blessed to see every level of sports from the football side. My younger brother played in college as well, and I was a college athlete. So I think those experiences of seeing a professional who, wasn't taken, at the top of the draft and didn't come in with these high expectations to build a career like he's had, and, the experience of being cut and the experience of being traded and the experience of transitioning into retirement, all of those things are really real experiences that affect, any professional athlete, and really any athlete at any level. Even if you are really into sports in high school, and say you get injured, like that's your identity, or you don't get a college scholarship, or are a big time college player, moving away from playing sports is a very real transition. It's a very identity driven thing. So being able to see and experience those things definitely shapes a lot of my opinions and how I consume sports as well.
I love it. So your family is so strongly driven in sports. Now, you said your mom's a Cowboys fan. With your brother playing for the Miami Dolphins, does she still support the Dolphins as well, or is she just diehard Cowboys there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, I grew up a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and I still, root for the Steelers, and I, root for the Dolphins now, even though Jason is no longer with the team, although he's on the broadcast team. Yeah. But my nephews play for LSU and for Arizona, and Jason coaches at UM. So my allegiance is where my family is. Blood is deeper than sports fandom for me. So yeah, no, I mean, we're gonna root for where the family is for sure.
Yeah, you've got nice, strong family ties. I love it. I know your sister's in the military as well, so you must be so proud of her with everything she does.
Yes, she actually retired from the Air Force a few years ago, but she was in for a long time, I believe 17 years.
Wow.
Served in the Air Force. I do come from a long line of military service. My grandfathers both served. My grandfather, Clarence, served for 30 years and retired a command sergeant major, served in Vietnam. Most of my uncles were in the service, various branches. My cousins, obviously my sister, my father. So I definitely have a very large military family, and I'm very proud of all of them.
Yeah, very strong family you're from, Joy. Now, if you could go back and look at your career over the years, what was your aha moment that I've made it, this is exactly what I was supposed to do?
I've had a couple different aha moments.
Yeah.
I think the moments that really put me in a space where I felt like I had reached a space where I felt confident in who I was as a talent was when I was doing the morning show in Miami, the Zaslow and Joy show, because we had a lot of internal support, and Zaslow was a great teammate who, really encouraged me to be authentic and to use my voice. And we did a really great show there that I'm proud of. And it really cut through, I think, because we were authentic and really enjoyed doing the show. And that was really where I developed my muscle for having strong opinions and doing long form content. And so that was a big cut through moment for me. Another moment that sticks out was when I came to FS1 for the first time to I guess interview and audition for the job that I eventually took with FS1. I pulled onto the Fox Studios lot here in Los Angeles, and it was really, I hadn't been to LA. I think I'd been once for when Jason was doing Dancing with the Stars, and it was so long ago. I mean, I really didn't remember the city that well. So it was a very big moment to, be pulling onto the Fox Studios movie lot in Los Angeles. And it's like, wow, like this is a real deal. Like this is really network. Like this is huge. So that was definitely a moment where I was like, wow, this is next level. And then being able to do the Super Bowl in 2020 from Miami, kind of full circle moment where I started my career and had gone to school to do the Super Bowl from South Beach and do the show there with Colin on the Herd was a really great moment and a great experience also.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine. Those moments must have been just magical and sticking out in your head. When you look back at those moments, what was it like when that mic first got put in front of you? How was that feeling?
In those moments, or like the very first time?
What was the first moment like when you sat in front of a mic and you're just told to go, let free on the air?
It's a little scary, like there's moments that you think you're ready for, or that you are fighting for or working for, and then you get them and you're like, wow, okay, now I really have to go, and be great. But I think when you're prepared and you put in the work and you really believe in what you're capable of, it makes it easier. Obviously, the more reps that you have, the more comfortable you feel. The first day we did the show with Speak, I felt very comfortable. I knew that this is what I'm meant to do, what I've worked for, what I'm prepared for, and what I can do. So I wasn't nervous about what was going to happen because I know what I've done to get to this point to prepare me for it. So I think at different points in your career, obviously your nervousness level and your experience will change on how you approach things. But I think it's also important to always stay humble and understand what it is you've done to get to those points and what opportunities are given to you and taking advantage of them. And this is an amazing business to work in, and there's people that lend you their time to listen to what you have to say, and having respect for the audience, I think, is important also.
Yeah, absolutely, Joy. I love the confidence that you have, especially in this industry, male-dominated industry. You were with the Herd for 3 years with Colin. How was your time there, and how hard was it to leave that show?
Colin is amazing. He's one of the best teammates I've ever had. He's a really great person, a good family man, and a professional that really takes his show seriously. I just mentioned having some respect for the audience. He's somebody that prepares extensively for the show every single day. And, he's been doing this for decades. He doesn't really have to put in that kind of work on the show, but he wants to, because he wants the show to be great for the people that are listening to the show, for the people that choose to spend a little bit of their day with us. They should get a good product. And he's amazing to work with. I'm really proud of the show that we did for those years. We went through some whirlwind situations, obviously the pandemic, and doing the show from home for 4 months, 5 days a week, 3 hours a day with no sports on television was a fascinating television experiment, which we've somehow pulled off, which is, I still don't remember what we talked about, but we did it. And, you know, that was a lot. You know, going to the Super Bowl, obviously. And, you know, we really built a great show and did a great show. And I'm very proud of the show that we did together. It was not easy to leave at all. But it was, you know, it was a great opportunity for me to transition to speak and be in a full-time, you know, opinionist role. And obviously as a woman, that's a big responsibility that I take very seriously as well. So I'm really proud of the show that we did, and Colin was incredible to work with.
That's fantastic to hear. Joy, what advice would you give to the women wanting to come up in this industry?
Well, one piece of advice that I always give to young people, men or women, is to know what it is you want to do in the business. And as a young person, I was there. I can very much relate to being kind of afraid of saying, okay, this is what I'm going to be when I grow up. You know, this is what I want to do, because your interests change. And, you know, you may think you love something, but you really kind of just love it. You don't necessarily want to do it for a living, or you're like, well, I want to do this, but I would be happy doing this. Know what you want to do, and just take the time with yourself to really have an honest conversation with yourself about what you would be happy doing and what you're passionate about, because it is an industry that has a lot of options. And sorry,
Okay.
it is an industry that has a lot of options and a lot of different jobs, and they're not all the same, and the paths aren't all the same. Maybe you want to be a writer, maybe you want to be a beat reporter, maybe you want to be a sideline reporter for college football or for college baseball. Maybe you want to be a baseball play-by-play announcer. You know, maybe you want to be a football analyst. There's so many different jobs. And it's not to say that you only have to be that for your entire career, but knowing what you want to do will help you get to that position faster, and it will help you be better when you arrive. One, because you'll be telling people this is what you want to do. You'll be manifesting it, and you'll be telling people in the business and people that you work with, I really want to do this. And you don't even have to, that job doesn't even have to exist. Maybe it doesn't even exist yet, but you know what you want to do. That'll help you take the right internships. It'll help you reach out to the right mentors. It'll help, again, the people that you work for and you work with know what it is you ultimately want to do. The jobs you take will align with that. So it's very important to know what it is you want to do. It's not a traditional path. There's many different ways. Shannon Sharp is a Hall of Famer who played tight ends in the NFL. Skip Bayless was a writer who also did radio and television and came up a completely different way. And they're both on the same show. So, you know, there's different ways to do things. There's different ways to arrive at, you know, the same space. But what's going to be the best way for you is to choose that and begin on that path. You know, if you want to be a doctor, there's a very clear designed path for how to become a doctor. You know, there's not like a lot of remixing there. You know, if you want to become a lawyer, you know, if you want to become a teacher, like, there's very traditional ways to get to that. Our business is very different. So it helps to know what you want to do. For women specifically, don't be afraid of your own voice, and don't back down because someone challenges you, because they are going to challenge you. And absolutely, you have to be really confident and prepared, and let your work speak for you when you're not in the room. You're not going to be able to be average. You have to be excellent. And that's just, it's not fair, but that's what it is. And if you are excellent, it will cut through because you're excellent. And you'll be prepared for any situation. I think sometimes as women, not just in the sports business, but, you know, I wasn't always encouraged to speak my mind. You know, I wasn't always encouraged to be confident or that I had value. And you have to know that you have value. You have to know that you belong and that you deserve to be in that space as much as anyone else does. And really standing there in your confidence, people will recognize that and see that. So I think it's important to really spend the time with yourself to know that you are worthy of being in that space.
That is great advice, Joy. I'm going to ask you a couple more questions, then we will wrap it up, I promise here. Dealing with the negativity as a woman in this industry, how have you found dealing with that? Because you are so strong. And I know because of the level that you're at, you are getting those people that are just ignorant in this industry. How do you deal with that?
Well, within the industry, you're going to deal with that, some pushback from certain people. And that is more, something you deal with professionally, or you deal with, however you deal with it in the workplace, you know. But as far as like social media and fans and things like that, I think it's important for anybody who's a public figure to sort of evaluate how they want to deal with feedback, because we're not designed to get this much feedback. We're not supposed to hear how great we are 500 times a day, just like we're not supposed to hear how terrible we are 500 times a day. It's just not normal to get this much feedback on yourself or your thoughts or your appearance or your voice or whatever people are talking about. So how do you deal with that? Do you allow all of the positive feedback to, elevate yourself and gas you up? Do you allow all the negative feedback to drag you down? You really can't do either, in my opinion. But how you specifically deal with social media, I think, should be on a personal, like, case-to-case basis. Like, I don't get bothered by random people on the internet saying negative things about me, because they don't sign checks. They're not someone I would ask for their opinion on anything anyway. So you're just really not moving the needle for me. Not at this point in my life. Like, if you're not paying one of my bills, which you're not, and you're not somebody who I would come to and ask for your opinion on anything, it's just not really valuable to me. But on the flip side, I don't get too crazy about people saying great things about me either, because you don't know me. You don't know if you would like me in real life. No, it's not that I don't appreciate positive feedback, but I think it's important to remain at a steady level and take advice from people that you know are worthy getting advice from and feedback from, and using social media in the way that it should be used professionally, because it's hard. It's hard to see terrible things said about your work and something that you've put a lot of time and effort into and you're passionate about and that you've worked for and that you've prepared for. It's hard to hear that you are ugly or fat or stupid or your eyes are weird or your mouth is weird or whatever people have to say about you. It's not that it's the easiest thing. I mean, I think I'm a little bit of a psychopath about it, so I don't really, expect everyone to be as callous as me. But I do think, you should evaluate what works for you. Everybody doesn't deal with it the same. Some people fire back all the time. Some people don't read their mentions at all. Find what works for you and what protects your peace, because at the end of the day, that's way more important than whatever's going on the internet.
Joy, your confidence is outstanding in this industry. If you can be remembered for one thing, what do you want people to remember you for?
I hope people remember my career as someone who opened doors for other people. I want the industry to look different than it looked and sounded when I started in the business 15 years ago. And it slowly has, but we have a lot of work to do, and not just on camera, but behind the scenes and on the executive level and really every level of the business when it comes to diversity. And I really believe in diversity. I think it makes for better product when you have people from different places that look different and sound different and have different experiences giving their opinions and helping to shape narratives and helping to create content. I don't think of it as just something that is convenience. So I hope that that's what people remember me for, somebody who reached back and opened doors for other people and, hopefully made the business a better place to be.
That's fantastic, Joy. I want to thank you so much for joining me here on the Joe Madden Sports Podcast. You are by sure the biggest powerhouse for females in this industry, in my opinion. You guys can find a Joy on Speak on Fox Sports. Joy, you're also on Twitter and Instagram. Where else can people find you?
Twitter, Instagram, TikTok.
I love it.
Yes, and obviously on Speak weekdays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern on FS1.
Joy, thank you so much for joining me here today. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.